Hey guys, so I'm going to have a little bit of fun with the recording revolution. Just to clarify, I was a huge fan of the recording revolution when it started in 2010. It was a big help back when Graham Cochran was running it. Big fan of his. I'm also a big fan of Joe Gilder, but I watched his video on pro drums.
Thing called top-down mixing. If you followed me or Graham Cochran for any length of time, you've probably heard us talk about this. And it's the idea that instead of mixing the individual pieces of the kit, first we're going to start at the bus.
So I went to the Blackbird Academy. I interned under Ryan Hewitt. I've seen Vance Powell mix drums live. I've seen a lot of pros mix drums, and I've never seen them do a top-down mixing approach. As far as that being the pro way to do it, that's just a technique. I don't think it's the pro way. Maybe it's an Andrew Sheps thing. I'm not sure. But for me, I don't work that way, and I don't really agree with it. The only time I do top-down mixing for drums is when I'm mixing like Easy Drummer or something that's a stereo track or something that was just recorded perfectly. Otherwise, if you're recording drums in a home studio or someplace where you're not in a perfect room, this isn't a perfect room, you can hear the reverb and all that stuff, you're going to have to mess with tracks individually. Basically, the way I start a mix is I bring all the tracks down and then I bring up the drum volumes. I start with kick, snare, overheads, and I get a balance. From there, I listen for trouble spots where 500 hertz, things like that. And I mean, sure, I could just send all of that to a bus and kind of scoop out some of the EQ and things like that. But that's more for making broad moves, and I just don't agree with it. So I'm just here to say I don't really like top-down mixing if you're mixing a real drum kit that was recorded in a home studio or it's not perfect. Most of us are not working with studio drums. And the way I've seen most professionals work is exactly what I'm talking about. They're bringing up the drums. I'm not talking about mixing your drums in solo. I'm not saying solo the kick. I'm saying get your volume balances, listen to the drums as a whole while you're mixing, and then zero in on like overheads, on the trouble spots. For me, it's about fixing things with EQ. As long as they are in phase and all that stuff, I'm going in to fix the drums with EQ, compression. I want to put saturation on things individually. And so a big part of the drum sound that I do when I'm mixing is, sure, I'm listening to the kit as a whole. The drum bus is not doing a lot of heavy lifting. Like it might have some compression on it. I'm parallel compressing. I'm using the parallel compression and the drum bus for sweetening. I do not make that my main focus. I'm going to pull up a song here in Pro Tools and just kind of show you what I'm talking about. So here we are in Pro Tools. I've got my drums set up here, and this is what they sound like. And here's my drum bus right here. I don't have anything going on the drum bus at this point. I do have some Slate stuff going on my mix bus, and then an API 2500 over the whole mix. Here's the overheads. And that's EQ'd, and I'm adding some top in, and then I'm scooping out 500. Nothing going on there. I don't even know why it's there, but this is my EQ. So you hear that boxiness. These are things that I just don't feel like I can address with just top-down mixing. So here's the boxiness back. And so what I like to do is I build my mix, volume faders first, and then I go through and I have to EQ things, compress things, use gates, all that stuff. And I know that Joe Gilder and Graham and all those guys do these things. I've learned a lot of techniques from Graham Cochran, from Joe Gilder about how to do this stuff. I mean, that's where I started mixing in 2010, and his channel was very valuable. But for me, I go in, I mix, I compress, like for snare drums. I've never seen an actual pro mixer, anyone that I've been around, do it that way. They start with faders, they do EQ, they do compression, they do saturation, and that's where it starts. I'm not a big fan of top-down mixing. The video kind of, just to say that that's the pro way of doing it, I'm not a fan of it. I don't believe in that, except for when you're working with a stereo track, you don't really have a choice at that point. But if I can break out kick and snare, saturate, EQ, compress, all that stuff individually, just process these things. That's part of the advantage of having all these individual tracks of the drums, but you're always going to have to clean up 500 hertz. You're always going to, I want to get my balance first. So that's where I am with it. I really don't like top-down mixing, and I don't think it's how the pros work per se, but that's a way to get somebody to click on the video. Just like me putting the recording revolution in the thumbnail, that's a way for you guys to get to watch it. But if you disagree, leave a comment down below. I'm just a dude in my basement, and I just kind of, I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. I definitely love those guys, love that channel, but I don't agree with top-down mixing. If you got any value out of this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. There are free tracks for download in the description. I do competitions every month here on this channel. There's mix feedback for free, reactions to your mixes. You can download those below. Contest right now, the one going on, you can win a CZV from Arturia. So check it out down below, and I'll catch you on the next one.